Hi there guys, my name is Jacob and welcome back to my channel. Now this week has been a pretty weird week so far. It's currently Thursday afternoon, so the week is not over yet. Could get better, could get worse. But yeah, it's been pretty weird so far. So let me just fill you in. Monday morning, I was having a pretty good morning, pretty busy with work, and I get an email to basically say I'm getting a pay rise. Now, this was pretty unexpected from what, I've been hearing in the company that I work for. And, you hear different things. But it didn't seem like I was going to get a pay rise this year. But very glad to say I am. And it's 3.2%. So not the biggest pay rise I've ever had. Certainly not the worst. So very glad of that. And a good start to the week. Tuesday and Wednesday went by, nice and busy. And, when you're busy, you kind of think things are good, job security's looking good, that type of thing. And then we roll on to Thursday, today, this morning, where I basically get a message to say, there is a call in half an hour. It's a company-wide update call, and you have to attend the call. Now, I know what these calls are. I know what that means. It basically means something's getting announced and it's probably not good. So, of course, your mind races and people start chatting, thinking, what could it be? But as I expected, it was a call to announce stuff. And it is, of course, more redundancies, or at least the threat of redundancy. Now, I've made these videos over the past year. This has happened a few times and I've been very lucky in those past times that the redundancies have not affected my department. So even though, the initial threat was there, that it kind of came and went and I was fine. Sadly, though, this time, not so much. Now, I'm not losing my job as of right now, but this particular announcement was for my specific department. So it means I'm very much on the chopping block, so to speak. Doesn't mean, again, that I'm going to lose my job. They initially basically said that voluntary redundancies will be considered first. So anybody, who wants to leave or who would like to take redundancy, obviously they can put their hand up and take that. And hopefully there'll be enough of those people to where someone like myself who doesn't want redundancy and would like to keep his job, hopefully I'll be protected because of those people. But if there aren't enough of those people, then that's where I guess it will turn to mandatory redundancy. And that is where you will not have a choice. You will just be told, you've lost your job. And that is not something I want to experience. It's not a route I want to go down. I guess from, a positive perspective, I'm somebody who's been with the company a long time. Now, I work in a telecoms company, quite a big telecoms company. So, I've worked there for about 13 or 14 years, which means that, of course, if I was made redundant, that I would get at least a bit of a payout. Now, it's not a lot. Don't go crazy. Don't get excited. I think it's something like a week for every year that you've been at the company, or a week and a half, something along those lines. So like a week of pay or a week and a half of pay. So, I've been there 13, 14 years. So, I'd probably get 3 months worth of pay or something like that as like a lump sum if the worst was to happen. So I guess in that respect, I would have a little pot of money to tide me over in getting another job. I also have savings to fall back on. I'm somebody who is very cautious about these type of things and likes to prepare, for the worst, for the inevitable. So I do have, a little pot of savings. And again, that probably tallies up to around 3 months worth of bills. So again, if I was to lose my job, again, that pot of money can tide me over. But ultimately, I don't want to have to dip into that. That is my safety net if the worst was to happen. But ultimately, I want to keep my job. So fingers crossed, everything will pan out and I will have a job after this phase of redundancies are over. But it's certainly a wake-up call. Now, they put it down to an expected downturn in, our industry. and also down to rising costs. So they put it down to rising energy costs, rising national insurance costs. Now, obviously, if you're in the UK watching this, you will know about these, additional costs. The Labour government have put up the national insurance contributions for companies, which of course has an effect on their bottom line, and it increases their costs. So I guess they're going to want to make cutbacks to fund that extra cost, I guess. And yeah, these kind of redundancies, I assume, are to pay for those type of increased costs. So there's a number of things they kind of said this was down to. Whether they're legitimate, who knows. The company always likes to say it's doing well and, it hits its targets and there's profits and all this type of good stuff, which makes you then think, well, why, if we're doing well and there's profits and you're hitting your targets that you set, why are you then having to punish, the staff that made that happen by making them redundant? It's a good question, and I never really understand it, because I've seen this happen before where, the company makes a round of redundancies and then 12 months later, they're re-employing, they have jobs available for the same positions that they got rid of, 12 months earlier. Almost like they didn't foresee that actually we needed those people and we shouldn't have got rid of them. And now there's all this work to do. We don't have the staff, so we're going to have to re-employ all those jobs. And it's just so short-sighted, just for a kind of short-term boost in cash flow, or a short-term, making the profits and the bottom line look a little bit better in the next 6 months. But then long-term, that's not sustainable, having such a lot of work to do with less staff. Anybody who's been through this, I'm sure you know what I'm on about. But yeah, so to be honest, that would be my prediction going forward is, they'll probably make a bunch of redundancies right now, and maybe that will, plaster over the cracks or whatnot. But then in 12 months' time, they'll probably be re-advertising for a number of the same roles that they got rid of this year. So it really doesn't make much sense. And ultimately, the people that do end up losing their jobs, their lives are going to be flipped upside down. And I feel for anybody who that happens to. And like I say, selfishly, I pray it is not me. But ultimately, I don't have any control over that. As I said before, the first part of this process is voluntary redundancy. So I have to hope that there's enough people who want to take that, and that will then save somebody like me from having to go down the mandatory route. I certainly won't be putting my hand up for voluntary redundancy. As much as, like I said before, I do have that kind of 13, 14 years of service where I have kind of like a redundancy payment built up. It's not something I want to use right now. I'm 32 years old. I can't afford to be having redundancy now. I need my job. I've got a huge mortgage, like most people my age do. Plenty of other bills to be paying. And I just need a job for the considerable future. Maybe in the future when maybe my mortgage is paid off or close to being paid off and things like that, and I'm thinking of winding down my career, well, then redundancy might be more of an appealing option. And I've certainly seen that happen to people before, people who are close to retirement. Redundancy is actually a very appealing option to those type of people. So it's not always a bad thing. There will be some people in the company that are quite excited that redundancy is being offered, and it's their chance to take that payment and sail off into the sunset. And I don't blame them, and I'd be very happy for them if, there are people that can do that. But I'm not one of them. And I just have to hope that, I can skate through this process, kind of unharmed, and keep my job and just keep on ticking over. But at the moment, I'm in limbo a little bit. So keep your fingers crossed for me, and hopefully things will work out. And if not, then I will have to start looking at something else. Other options, maybe in the same industry, maybe doing something different. Who knows? But only time will tell. But on a more positive note, just to finish off the video, if you've watched my videos over the past few weeks, you'll know I've had a solar PV system installed and things are going incredibly well. The sun is shining a lot more often these days, which means the system is, running so much better than it was just a few weeks ago. My energy bills are far lower. I'm now creating income from the export, from what I'm exporting to the grid, which is really good. Generally in the region of around £2 to £3 a day is what I'm currently exporting to the grid, which, when you factor that over the course of a month, that's quite a bit of money exported that then gets credited to my energy bill. So as the kind of spring and summer months come, things are going to be looking really good on the solar side of things. But as always, I will keep you updated on that. But as this video is long enough, I'll leave it there, guys. Let me know down in the comments any of your thoughts on my current situation, and maybe if you've been through something similar, maybe give me a bit of advice or, just a bit of an insight into your experience through this. And as always, consider hitting the like button and the subscribe button. And guys, I will catch you in the next one.